Hey, Saturday, June 24th, 2023. It's around 8 p.m. It's not my usual doing a video after the gym. I actually I was studying for this Agile Certified Practitioner exam, which I have some videos. I'm getting ready to take that probably in 2 weeks, maybe 3. Still trying to decide. It depends if the exam is offered on the weekend or not. If it's offered on the weekend, I can do it in two weeks or so, but I have to see, I guess. So far, passed all the practice exams, just a lot of, read the question closer type mistakes, not reading close enough. So, yeah. What do we want to talk about? Prigozhin. He's doing a full-up mutiny, on Putin. It's kind of like January 6th over there in Ukraine. Looks like he wants to march to Moscow and take Putin out. I'm not sure how that all came about. He used to cook for Putin and be his right-hand man and his favorite oligarch. So I guess there's some infighting. I guess we don't know. There is infighting between the Russian army and Wagner to the benefit of Ukraine, and now they're fighting each other, which is good for Ukraine. But if Russia goes into civil war, my old boss from long back in Estonia, said. That probably Prigozhin will be taken out, or this mutiny will be put down pretty quick. I don't know. Prigozhin has a loyalty of his men. He was really good to his men. Where the Russian army, standard Russian army, they give you 2 guns because they know one of you is going to get shot. And then they have a bunch of people ready to shoot you in the back. I mean, Prigozhin was doing that too. Wagner was like torturing deserters and stuff. But compared to the rest of Russia, relatively speaking, they valued human life more, especially for their professional ranks. I mean, I know they have prisoners and people from, legionnaires or whatever from other countries, like especially Africa and, places like that, that maybe they don't value so much because they're foreigners or whatever. But overall, I think he's probably liked among his circles, and he must have, if he was smart. I don't know how smart he is. That's a relative term over there. He would have organized some people onto his side, mainly for funding, right? You can't have an army unless you can pay the soldiers. So, he's got to have some funds somewhere or some backers. So maybe there's some people in Russia. I was speculating that maybe there's people in East Russia where a lot of the regular soldiers have been lost, and they're maybe upset, especially these Russians who are Asian, Asian looking. There's like many kinds of Russians. They're not all like white Nordic looking guys or whatever, white Slavic dudes. They have like a big Muslim population. They have the Chechens. They have these people in Ufa, in Russia, Far East, so they have some different groups, and maybe they all are like seeing an opportunity now, and maybe Prigozhin has gotten them together, and maybe there's quite a possibility for a Russian civil war. I wouldn't be surprised, if the NSA and CIA, they probably got all the phone numbers of these guys, and maybe there's something being orchestrated, to put this to an end, and maybe we have to deal with these assholes. These guys have committed atrocities, but anything is better than Putin right now, I suppose. Although I think Kadyrov would probably be worse. I don't know what he would do if he was in power, but I think that wouldn't happen. It would be maybe there will be 5 to 15 separate nations, like I've been talking about. I don't think they're going to be able to put Prigozhin down. I don't think he's that stupid. I mean, who knows? Who knows? He could be. Wagner went up against the U.S. military in Conoco Fields in 2018, and they got torn to bits. You know, I mean, within minutes they lost just about everybody. You know, I mean, and then the U.S. Used a B-52 to, I mean, can you imagine, to chase down the remnants? I mean, with a B-52. I mean, it was just insane. I mean, that's like the kind of America I'd like to see, you know, here in Ukraine, you know, like bring all these weapons and, you know, just start going to town on the Russians. But anyway, yeah, back to this. So something is going on, and maybe he's just mad and doing this all on emotion. And if that's the case, yeah, it's not going to last long, because I read an article, the Russians were already telling Wagner to disband or not take orders from Prigozhin and only take orders from Russian leadership. But it depends, you know, how well funded he is. If everybody is getting pay from Wagner, and the Wagner leadership is, you know, and they've communicated to these people that the stuff the Russian army is not doing, and a lot of these Wagner guys, they have seen, I think, all the mismanagement. So they would probably follow him. I mean, Prigozhin, you know, as bad as he is out in front of his men. You know, he's out there on the battlefield with his guys, you know, and he's always been like that, where Putin is sitting back in the Kremlin and those generals are, you know, sitting around and, you know, all the way back in Moscow or hiding in the Ural Mountains. So he has, if he has funding and he has support of some other oligarchs or some regional leaders, he might be able to, you know, help Ukraine. He might be able to. Russia, I read that Russia is moving some of their forces into Moscow to protect against this really pissed off dude. But he could do a lot of damage if he's funded properly. I mean, if the CIA or NSA or the U.S. military, you know, JSOC or whoever is working with him, you know, maybe they're going to feed him. You know, your enemy's enemy is your friend, you know, as one would say. You know, this could be a real game changer. It's something I was hoping for, you know, that this would be fought on another dimension, because, you know, Ukraine going straight up against Russia, they're just, they definitely have the purpose, they have the spirit, but they just don't have the oomph. You know, they don't have enough resources to do this counteroffensive, you know, to really break the lines. I mean, they need a 3-to-1 advantage to start with, because now they're on the offensive, and then they need more equipment to clear mines and, you know, cross rivers, and, you know, because the Russians changed the geography by blowing the dam. So of course they need the air cover. And, you know, they got like, I saw they got like 400 MRAPs, and, you know, they've got like a couple dozen tanks, maybe a few hundred tanks. You have to understand, this battlefront is like I think it's the equivalent of going from like Florida to New York. It's like the size of the east coast of the U.S. more or less. You know, or I think going from Atlanta to Chicago, something like that. It's a very long front. And so, I mean, a few thousand vehicles would be barely enough to cover a couple miles, you know, of battlefront. You know, I mean, because, you know, some are going to be in service, some are going to be running, some, you know, like there's going to be a rotation, so only really half will be actually in use at any time, and the other half will be on another cycle, you know, to keep running. So it was just like I tell everyone, they needed the factories, not the tanks, because they need to produce like 10 tanks every hour for the next year to get what they really need to make this offensive work. So maybe this is but if Russia goes into civil war and they have to pull people from the front lines of Ukraine to go defend Moscow, because if Prigozhin is organized and funded, and he's got other people on his side, then yeah, this could be over very quickly, and Ukraine will get all its territory back, because then Putin will be in a fight for his own life against his own people, you know. And what the only thing I really worry about is then Russia will start dropping nukes on themselves, right? So you have different people in charge of these nukes, unless I don't know, the NSA or someone has hacked them and can disable them. You know, like they did in Iran long back. You know, that was the Israelis that were able to hack into the centrifuges and get them to spin out of control. That could create fallout. It'd be nice. I mean, Russia will be all nuked, but the problem is all the fallout will blow all over the world and screw up the environment more than it is and create cancers and all this stuff. So if they start like throwing bombs around on each other, that could be bad. So that's what I worry about, you know, is because that doesn't have any borders, the nuclear fallout. But yeah, we all want Putin out, but we need him out before he presses the button. Unless, I mean, I'm hoping if this is organized, that the people in charge of the nukes have already maybe made a deal, you know, behind the scenes with the Americans, that, you know, the repercussions, you know, when there's a new Russia, will be less. Maybe that they'll be forgiven or something if they can pull this coup off. You know, that their reparations to pay for all this damage may be far less. I don't know. Hopefully. I mean, that would be in the best situation. I mean, my gut tells me, though, it's somewhere in the middle between this totally an emotional play where he decides to go for Putin just on a whim, and then he gets his money cut off, and this rebellion gets put down because he just simply doesn't have the funding to pay soldiers and pay, you know, and have support from other people like Kadyrov and, you know, the leaders of Siberia and Chechnya and Dagestan or whatever, all these other people that have like a little bit of a beef with Moscow, you know, and St. Petersburg, to something where he's fully backed. So that's one extreme where he's just on an emotional whim. The other extreme is like he's working for us now, and he's gotten some package where he won't be a war criminal, and maybe even gets, you know, he gets basically a pardon for everything he's done if he can pull this off, you know, and he's fully backed by some powerful people inside Russia, and especially the ones holding the nukes, and he's got a total green light to go for Moscow. So that's the other extreme. So it's maybe somewhere in the middle. But I sense like if Putin shows any weakness, you know, people on the inside will turn on him. That could be happening. That could be you know, because this is going on long enough, and, you know, yes, Russia in a sense can claim a victory that they have gained control of 20% of Ukraine, which is, you know, they wanted the 4 territories in Crimea, but no one recognizes it, you know, so it's not really a full victory, right? It's a hollow victory, and now the country is sanctioned. His inner circle can't send their kids to study in America. They can't go to Miami, but they can't even, all their accounts have been frozen, their yachts are seized. So they may be running out of patience. They might be out of patience here. You know, I mean, yes, maybe Russia won in a technical sense that they got the territory, but they lost in the strategic sense that they're not recognized and nobody can stand them. And, you know, you had Joe Biden talking to the Indian Prime Minister. You know, Modi was at the White House. Blinken was in China. And I think all these countries that, you know, are working with Russia understand the trade potential with America is like 100 times more. America and the EU combined offer 100 times, literally 100 times more potential business opportunity and trade than trading with Russia. Like, everyone thought Russia's this great market, you can go in there, but really there's not much. You know, you're talking about billions versus trillions in opportunity. I mean, the Russian economy is like smaller than the Italian economy, and then, you know, America and EU combined, it's just a monstrosity. So really, I mean, trading with Italy versus trading with all of America and all of Europe. That's the choice that these BRIC countries have. And you know, all this bull crap about BRIC currency and BRIC banks. The BRIC countries are basically a six-legged giraffe, and all the legs have left feet. I mean, they're going to try to screw each other. That's what they do. These are all dictatorships or near dictatorships, and they're bureaucratically messy countries. They're not Northern European, you know, Anglo-American type countries like Britain, America, Australia, where they have like a culture of trust and fair play. These are all countries where people screw each other. You know, Brazil, Russia, India, China. So yeah, this would be like a giraffe with 6 left feet. Running, when they try to organize stuff and try to work together. You know, it's I mean, they can't even speak the same language to each other. They have to go through translators. I mean, all you people who are like, fans of Death of the Dollar or anti-American or whatever, really got to think about what the other side offers. I mean, they're getting a lot of hype in the media and zero hedge and all this stuff, but really they're just they're a bunch of buffoons. You know, yeah, they have a lot of natural resources, but not much for innovation. All their top people are in California, or in Stockholm, in the Europe side, or Amsterdam, or Boston or New York. They you don't have any Silicon Valley going on in Brazil or in Russia or even in India for that matter. I mean, there's definitely stuff happening in those countries, but not at the level like in Western countries where you bring diverse people together under a single language and they conform to a Western culture and understand fair play and they're under good management. And they even themselves have a right to ascend to be CEOs. I mean, look at Microsoft and Google are run by Indian immigrants. I don't think any immigrant can, go to Russia or even India or Brazil and work their way up to be a CEO of one of their iconic companies. I mean, there's no meritocracy there. There's still favoritism, and you got to be somebody's, someone. Your father's got to be someone famous or something like that. So really, I think these BRIC countries understand themselves, except the Russians, of course, but maybe even people within Russia are quickly understanding that, working with America, working with Europe is the way forward. I mean, granted, America and Europe are far from perfect. And, they have all these, a lot of problems, but nothing like these BRIC countries. They're so bad. There's so many problems in these BRIC countries, like South Africa is another one of these places. It doesn't even make the news because it's just normal. Problems are not normal in Western countries, and that's why they make the news. So the news only covers outliers. But there's all this crazy corruption and, bullshit going on in those countries is just par for the course. It's just the way it is, And so it doesn't. So the only thing that they report in the news is soap opera stuff, like people sleeping with other people and scandals. Because like everyone just steals money. The corruption is just like even accepted. Like you're expected to do that if you get a high position. That you go in there and you grab a whole bunch of cash. And when I was studying in Brazil, they said that the only reason why they cover in the news when someone grabbed cash is because they grabbed too much. Instead of stealing like a third of the pot, they decided to go for, half of it or something, and it was just a bit too much. And then they get in the news, but then the guy gets out of jail and he goes back to just stealing normal amounts. So, I'm like I said, I'm pretty optimistic about America. I've told a lot of my red pill friends that, America is not heading for a recession. America is heading for a renaissance. We're going into a wartime economy. They're going to be building all these factories to build all these like cool weapons. These ones that just like vaporize Russians like so efficiently. And they're going to, they have to get ready for a war with China now, they've come to realize. And then all the semiconductor production is coming back to the US and Europe. NVIDIA talked about opening a plant in Europe. And I think Intel is opening some new plants in the US and AMD. So, a lot of this, there's going to be this new industrial economy re-emerging in America, and I think there might be a rebirth of the middle class within a generation. So, because we can't just be doing stuff in China anymore to save money. You know, we just can't do it. We can't be helping them make the rope that they're going to hang us with. You know, we just, I think even the Democrats have woken up to that. You know, I mean, the Republicans, they didn't care. They talked about it, but they really didn't do anything, because at the end of the day, they only care about money. You know, I mean, both sides are like that. But I think a new ideology might be born out of this. But anyway, that's all I got. We'll see you next time.